Community geography. The jobs of a community can look very different depending on where the community is located. There are three kinds of geographical communities: rural, urban, and suburban. Rural communities have a small number of people spread over a large area of land. This is often called living in the country. Urban areas have large numbers of people living close together. They are called cities. Suburban areas are communities that grow right outside of cities. The definition of rural, suburban, and urban communities are hotly debated because they are related to money. For example, if you do an internet search for a federal definition of rural, you'll find many interesting articles that show how people change the definition to both get and take away money. On this page, you see three pictures. On the left is a picture of a rural community, then we have suburban, and then last we have urban. Rural communities. For many hundreds of years, everyone lived in a rural community. There were no towns and cities. Families lived in small communities. Soon, villages formed. Most of the United States is still considered rural, but only 2 out of every 10 people live in a rural community. How is that possible? Most rural communities have a small number of people spread over a large area. Sometimes neighbors even live too far apart to see each other's houses. There may be farm, fields, or woods between them. In 2012, more than 40% of the land in the United States was farmland. You can see this map of the US. Green is rural, purple is urban, and blue is suburban. This caption reads, more than 50% of farmers are over 50 years old. And this shows top job categories in rural communities: agriculture, education, personal care and services, retail, mining, logging, drilling, food services, entertainment and recreation, transportation and distribution, waste management, and manufacturing. Benefits of living in a rural community. Lots of green grass, being close to nature, and lots of fresh air are just a few of the things that people like about living in rural communities. Challenges of living in a rural community. Our country is having trouble making sure that there are enough good jobs available in rural communities. This means many young people worry they might have to leave home to find a good job. There are rural communities that don't have access to doctors or hospitals. In some rural areas, the closest hospital could be an hour away. If there's an emergency, an ambulance or doctor might not get there in time. Urban communities. As time passes, some places in the world attract more people. Villages grew into towns, some towns grew into cities. Today, urban communities have lots of people who live and work close together. Because there are so many people, cities have very tall apartments and office buildings. They also have buses and subways to make it easier to go from place to place. Benefits of living in an urban community. People like to live in cities because they don't have to go very far to get the things they need. There are lots of stores and places to have fun. Some people live in cities because they like being part of a large multicultural community. Challenges of living in an urban community. Urban areas are very crowded with tons of people and traffic. The sounds of car horns and ambulance sirens can be very noisy. Cars, factories, planes, and the power plant that creates electricity all cause air pollution. City air can be so polluted that it makes people sick. 45% of the people in New York City live in an apartment. This shows top job categories in urban communities: healthcare, finance, business, education, retail, manufacturing, science and technology, utilities, public transit, transportation, and distribution. Suburban communities. Suburban communities started when some people still wanted to work in the city but wanted to live somewhere with more space. Now, today's suburbs have more than just houses. Benefits of living in a suburban community. Many suburban communities are built like small cities, with stores and businesses in the center and homes around them. Today, some people who live in the suburbs work in their own community instead of going into the city. Challenges of living in a suburban community. Because there are so many jobs, more people live in suburbs than everyone in the cities and rural areas combined. But the cost of houses and apartments is getting higher and higher. It is becoming harder for people living in these communities to pay for all their wants and needs. Top job categories in suburban communities: business, healthcare, education, retail, food services, finance, science and technology, legal, manufacturing, transportation, and distribution. This graph at the bottom shows the change in population in the different types of communities. The purple is urban, the blue is suburban, and the green is rural. Communities and nature. Geography shapes jobs in our communities in many ways. Climate and natural resources are different in different parts of the United States and change the jobs people do and the ways they do them. Climate is the average kind of weather an area has from year to year. Natural resources are things from nature that people can use to survive or make money, like beaches, mountains, trees, or coal. Let's look at how climate and natural resources can affect jobs. U.S. climate zones. There are zones 1 through 8. Home builders change how they build houses based on these climate zones. The climate in which a house is being built determines their choices for building materials and the type of heating system, oil, natural gas, propane, the house should have. Lifeguards. Communities with beaches hire lifeguards who are trained to watch swimmers and rescue them from drowning. The job of a beach lifeguard is done differently in different climates. For example, in the warm climate of Florida, beaches need lifeguards all year. They go through lots of training to rescue people in the ocean. Lifeguards here usually do the job for many years. The beaches in New Jersey only need lifeguards in the summer. Why? The weather is too cold the rest of the year for swimming. Many lifeguards here are students who go back to school in the fall. When fall comes, lifeguards in New Jersey who want to keep working have to find indoor pools where they can work. Jobs in tourism. Communities in beautiful natural settings usually have many people called tourists who come to visit. Tourism is one important way that many communities make money. No matter where people go on vacation, they want hotels for sleeping, restaurants for eating, and stores for shopping. People have jobs in all of these businesses. Jobs in tourism can be different based on why people visit that community. For example, people visit New York City as tourists all year round. So a chef in a fancy restaurant there has that job all year. People only visit mountains to ski during the snowy winter months and New Jersey beaches in the hot summer. So a chef at a fancy ski hotel or beach restaurant may only have that job for a few months out of the year. You have a map of the United States down here, and the key says that this symbol is rivers, this symbol is beaches, this one is mountains, and this one is for lakes.